And now to make some final and concluding remarks, I'd like to welcome on stage representatives from the European Commission and the Spanish Presidency of the Council of the European Union. Normans Poppins, Deputy Director General at European Commission's DG Regional and Urban Policy. Mario Milochev, Director at the European Commission's DG Agriculture and Rural Development. Francisco Boya, Secretary General for Demographic Challenge with the Ministry of Ecological Transition and Demographic Challenge in Spain. And finally, Fernando Miranda, Secretary General for Agriculture and Food with the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Food in Spain. You're all very welcome. And have you each got access to a microphone? Normans, do you have a microphone? Do you want to, you can grab one of those. Yeah, great. So do you want to just speak from your seats, or would you like to go to the lectern? Whichever you're more comfortable with. You're fine? I'll hand over to you. The floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, and thank you for moderating this event. I hear that you did it very well. And good afternoon. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
And good afternoon to everyone, to my dear colleagues, Spanish Presidency, everyone. I'm really happy to come to Sigüenza today and to be here in this important event, which is about shaping the future of rural areas. And I just hope that our Commissioner and my colleagues who spoke before me convinced you that the cohesion policy is a deep friend of rural areas, that we care for rural areas and we do everything we can to actually invest into rural areas to make sure that these areas become part of this wider territorial development of the European Union and its member states and regions. I very much want to subscribe to everything what my colleague from the OECD said. So basically he said what I wanted to say, which makes my job easier. I can just confirm that this is also, I think, the way our thinking goes. We do believe that rural areas need to be addressed through specific instruments and policies, but we also believe that it is time finally to get out of this contradiction against rural versus urban, because the future of Europe is not in isolation. We cannot develop European Union member states and regions if we always contradict rural versus urban. And more, I think we've been working also at the EU level to show how this broader territorial cooperation can actually happen in reality and how our investment then can also be channeled accordingly. In the cohesion policy, we have introduced a new specific policy objective to support territorial strategies, so of course urban, but also strategies for rural areas and for areas with specific handicaps. But more and more, of course, we want to support this functional area approach. It is also possible to use our tools, ITIs and CLLDs. They have been mentioned a lot through the conference, to draw investment also from thematic policy objectives. But I think the future discussion at the EU level will be about how we invest from the EU budget. And this is, I think, where we all need to gather and provide results, good data and evidence, how these territorial tools work together. So we are actually very much together with you in this, showing that this territorial part of the EU budget needs to be kept. Because of course now we have a lot of funding coming out, not just from cohesion policy and common agricultural policy, but also through recovery and resilience facility. And they are success stories. The RRF is a success story, but it is a centralized way to implement the EU budget. So I think for the future MFF, we really need to think together how we merge these two sides of EU budget and make sure that it is also a success story. And there, everything you say today, I think, becomes very relevant. I wanted to talk about, of course, very important things, but let me just talk about dreams becoming a reality. I mean, I just was in Croatia, just my last trip was in Croatia, where we launched a debate on the future, and I met this young guy. I think people coming from Croatia must know him, Mr. Rimak. You know, it's a young guy who is born in a rural area in Bosnia and Herzegovina, a Croat, who then moved to Croatia and who had a dream. He wanted to make cars. He liked cars. And I visited now after 15 years of his, work and development and efforts. I visited his production center in a rural area in the surroundings of Zagreb, which employs 2,000 people. And he's just signed a contract with one of the biggest car producers in Europe to make batteries. I mean, this is what, I wanted to show this example because this is a person who had a vision, who knew what he wants to do, who went through extremely hard times, got some support from the ERDF, from other funds, a little bit. Now he doesn't need that support anymore because he has investors now and he has, everything. He has developed his own technology, which is one of the leading ones in battery production in the world. It is all possible. The dreams can become reality. So I actually agree that we need to involve more and more young people, support them with their ideas, make sure that they can actually deliver on their dreams because they are our future. I mean, green and digital transition is not the EU level policy. It's an absolute necessity. We have to go through this because if we don't, then there is no future for our children and grandchildren. I mean, I always give this example of after 50 years, if we do nothing, half of Europe will be underwater maybe. And we see that the climate change is a reality. But then again, if we just leave this transition to market forces, and we hear it today, then of course there will be places who will never benefit from it, will never use this opportunity, because this challenge also is an opportunity. And this is what we try to also achieve through our programs, through the work that we do. At the European Commission level, I think we've taken very seriously the long-term vision and what was recommended to us. And just to give you a few, we have now a pilot with World Bank on functional areas, where we try in 12 member states to show how the functional rural-urban links can be created in reality. We will, of course, build on the work of the OECD, especially on the role of small cities. And, I really don't know if it's important Sigüenza is a city or not, but it has to play its role. And even for a remote rural area, there is some kind of an urban agglomeration there, which has to play its role. And normally they don't. And that is a very sad situation. Again, I visited my country, where it's a very small city where, the border stops there, the street renovation stops at the border of a small city because they don't care what happens, because there are political leaders from different parties, probably. And that is something which we should, try to unblock, develop, redevelop, and make sure that actually this cooperation between rural, urban, but also between EU and national levels and regional levels actually kicks off in the interest of people. And I like the OECD approach to change the place-based policies to people-based policies. By the way, we are also launching now, together with OECD and also with PricewaterhouseCoopers, 2 calls to work with regions lagging, the ones that are trapped and are losing people, the depopulated regions. Because I think what our commissioner has said, and my colleagues have said, in our mind, it's not really about increased funding, new funds, new directorates. You think it's going to help? I don't think so. I think we need to focus on solutions. And this is what we are trying to do also with our pilots. We want to show that these regions actually can have a real recipe of success to unblock all these, traps that they have fallen into. And they are linked to skills, to education, to also to some extent to infrastructure, but also to governance, and getting their act together and supporting the ideas which come bottom up, indeed, from all parts of Europe. And this is what we will try to do also with our pilots. I do think that these pilots should feed into the next programming exercises. We should take them seriously and learn from them and then adjust our policies. So certainly that, but I don't think that we need more money or more earmarking. I think we need to work on solutions and make sure that what we do together actually delivers on the ground and increases, welfare for the people living everywhere in Europe. So thank you for listening to me, and I'm so happy to be here today, really.
Thank you very much, Norman. I don't know if everybody is going to agree with you about not needing more money, but anyway, Mario, if we can go to you, please, for your concluding remarks.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Normuts, for your conclusions. I would like also to thank Enrique from OECD and all the rapporteurs who came here to present the conclusions of the different sessions. And Enrique, I would like to say that we would like to cooperate a little bit more, even closer with you in the future for rural areas. I would like to make some very small points. So the first point that I take of today is really that all of us, all of you, welcome the fact that we had this conference. And I think that there are expectations towards the Spanish presidency that the conclusions of this conference will feed the conclusions of the Council, which will come this autumn. I would like also to say that we listened to the demands for more money. I agree with Normans that we should see what the results are. We listened, however, we saw the three elements that were mentioned by leader, and we are going to reflect on them. And also on COLD, there were some remarks that there are less COLD programs this programming period, which is true, we don't deny it. And even we have organized, and there will be in Slovenia, a seminar in mid-October, where we are going to discuss exactly the reasons why we have this programming period less multi-fund leader, and what we should do in the future to do this. Something also operational about the coordination. It was a central point coming from all of you when you replied to Slido. So for coordination, I will discuss with the team working on the rural vision. Probably we can have a dedicated event where more practically we can have some proposals from some examples from member states and regions where the coordination works very well, because we have this, and to see how these examples can go to the other member states. Something else, again, for the cooperation, I agree very much with Isabel Carvalhais that we should make it possible to know which policy, because we have numerous policies in the European Union, and which funds, how much exactly it contributes to the rural areas. And finally, there were calls for making rural PAC more operational. I take that we should make it more operational at national level, because we made some steps at European level, and we should together see how to work on this. The Rural Pact community members and all institutions and organizations that contributed to the Rural Pact, I would like to thank them and to invite the national authorities also to join the Rural Pact. So just to say that in the Commission we are ready to help the Spanish presidency to take the conclusions and the takeaways of today and to see how they can feed the Council conclusions, of course, if you wish this help of the Commission. As today we were together from the Common Agricultural Policy, the agricultural ministries and the regional ministries, we welcome the fact that you are going to prepare these conclusions together in the SCA with the cohesion councillors. On our side, I said it already in the morning, but I would like to repeat because it's important. In the first quarter of 2024, there will be a report on rural vision about what have been implemented, and there will be reflections about the future. Well, I insist that it is not only about what has been done, but about the future. I insist on this. However, we are in a situation where the college is ongoing, the parliament is ongoing, so there will be no proposals, there will be reflections which will feed the discussion, the concrete discussion, probably after the European elections. And I would like to, to make some thanks at the end, to congratulate the Spanish presidency and the Rural Pact Support Office for the excellent collaboration we had for delivering this event. I would like to thank also the region of Castilla-La Mancha, the beautiful historical town of Sigüenza, and the leader network of the RECAM there for their vital contributions, including the dinner yesterday and the exciting field trips for tomorrow. And of course, to thank the interpreters who helped us very much to understand each other today, and all of you for your active participation. I see that still there are so many people who are listening with attention. So thank you very much. Rural areas deserve these efforts, and let's continue together in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So let's now hear some concluding remarks from the Spanish presidency. First, to you, Francisco Boya, Secretary General for Demographic Challenge with the Ministry of Ecological Transition and Demographic Challenge in Spain.
Muy bien, quería en primer lugar
Well, first of all, I wanted to thank you, and it's an honor to be closing this event today. I wanted to thank from the Ministry of Ecological Transition and Demographic Challenge this opportunity, and also thank you to the Ministry of Agriculture, because we share this work in favor of rural areas. Also, I wanted to give thanks from the third Prime Minister, and I wanted to share that, and she wanted to share this moment with you. Some reflections of today. Well, we've heard different contributions, very interesting, and I just wanted to comment on some ideas to add up to what we've heard so far. First of all, I think we should overcome something that we always talk about in the kind of events that we talk about, where we talk about rural areas, and that is that rural areas cannot continue being areas that are underdeveloped. They require public policies, and these policies should be public because they have difficulties to be competitive in the market. And these public policies should contribute to this challenge that is also a democratic challenge, because it's related to the equality of citizens, citizens that haven't been born in a big city, that should have the same rights. Also, rural areas are making a big contribution to society. We have elements that are being very important right now, for example, climate change, and rural areas are and will keep making a great contribution to mitigate the effects of climate change. I also wanted to reflect on what we've done from the Spanish government to improve the situation. Spain is a country that has a big problem in terms of demography. We have big inequalities. The minister talked about it this morning. We have more than 4,000 municipalities that have less than 12 people per square meter. There are very depopulated areas, and in the Spanish government, we've improved a very ambitious politic with 130 measures, and so we've been able to solve some structural problems and historical problems. But Spain is a country that has great connectivity with its rural areas, that has improved public services, and we've invested 13 billion euros to improve this deficits, and I think this is an evidence. Another very important question is the following. we've established a governance model that has highlighted contribution between regions. In our country, the regions have a very big importance, and the most important thing is participation and give an instrument to local communities. I think it is very important to be very sensitive with this question. Enrique was saying a few minutes ago how important culture was, and I think we should be very respectful with that culture and with that way of understanding the rural areas, because otherwise we will make the mistake, as we said about the Netherlands, we will make the mistake of upsetting the population in a political point of view. So I think we should open participation, therefore. Also, I wanted to add some recommendations that I think are key in this discussion. We should see how we can improve this way of intervention, territorial intervention, and facing the challenges of rural areas with new tools. Questions that are key, for example, generational renewal is one of them. Social inclusion of people that live in rural areas is another one. We have a problem of aging population, of women that are living in rural areas, and therefore we have the challenge of bringing talent and young people to rural areas. Of course, social inclusion in this matter is very important. We've also said it, but economic diversification is key for rural areas. That is not only an agri-food space, but it has other dimensions. It is also key to think of innovation as one of the keys to the rural development. Honestly, in Spain, we've implemented an experience that has been very positive with innovative centers generating ecosystem in rural areas, helping innovation, education, universities to reach rural areas, because sometimes rural areas have been marginalized from these sectors, from these areas. And I think that this experience, jointly with Campo Rural, that has also been mentioned here, can be some policies that could be observed to see what the outcome could be. To end my intervention, I think this has been a wonderful event. This event has also had a previous event in Lugo, where we've talked about the demographic challenge again, the aging of population. In November, we will have another event in La Granja, where we will be talking about talent in the territory. And I think that these are three important discussions on this topic. And I think that this Spanish presidency will contribute to the work that all of you are carrying out, to seek opportunities, to have dynamic villages, which is what we want, and to men and women who live in these villages are happier. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Also some very interesting points made there. And finally, to also representative of the Spanish presidency, it's my pleasure now to welcome for his closing remarks, Fernando Miranda, the Secretary General for Agriculture and Food with the Spanish Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Food.
Muchas gracias, Karen, y muy buenas tardes a todos y a todas.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. I think that today we are joined by an objective, which is improving the conditions of our citizens and to design the policies to create better opportunities for people who live in these areas. Today, and I'm sure that tomorrow with our field trips, because we are going to be able to see real examples of how these policies are affecting everyday lives. We will see how these policies will evolve to regulations, to tools, and therefore to opportunities for people that will be able to continue their lives in rural areas. And we will be able to continue this cohesion, as Minister Luis Planas said. He was talking about breaking the gap between urban and rural, so that we can have equal opportunities for people regardless of where they live. We've talked about the complexity of the problem that we're facing. We are represented at the European level by DG Agri, DG Regio. We also had from the Spanish presidency the Secretary General of EU funds and also the Minister of Agriculture. And you are here also here representing your countries, regions, municipalities. You are here representing a complex ecosystem that will allow us to create policies to give our territories what they're asking for, because these territories are the ones who should tell us what their needs are, because it's very difficult to create policies that adapt to every need. So this very difficult exercise is what we have ahead of us. Our contribution from the Spanish presidency was precisely reactivating this debate, continuing with the work of the European Commission, and we wanted to have a conclusion project where everyone agrees to where we want to go. In this report or communication that we are going to be presenting on 2024. We wanted to start reflecting on what this policy for rural areas is going to be for the new funding period. And I wanted to reflect on some of the things that have been said today when we talk about asking for more money or the complex of the procedures. We want to simplify things. So if someone in the territory wants to ask for a project, they don't need to know how complex the budgetary architecture is. So one of the reflections that we should make is that we should hear people on the ground. One of the questions that we are hearing in the European Union is that the implemented policies are not giving the results that we should hope. People who live in rural areas are telling us that in their own way, but they're telling us that it's not working as it should. This doesn't mean that we don't have examples of success, but it is true that things are not moving as fast as citizens would like. And so this is something that should make us think. I think we should rethink the architecture of these policies within our perspective, a broader perspective, to make a difference. Those who have been here for long, we know that each period is a copy of the previous period, that we don't really move forward. And I think it's time to really move forward to give the answers that the territories are asking. Because the feedback that we are having is that these policies are not attending the demands that people in rural areas are asking for. So I think we have a lot of work ahead of us, and that this event is a part of this exercise. The Commission is going to continue to work in this exercise. And I think the MFF is also going to be very important. That's going to start, I think, in 2025. And well, just to end my intervention, I just wanted to thank the participation of all of you, to Karen also for her excellent coordination of every discussion, to everyone who has participated in the different panels, in the different workshops, to everyone that has participated, European Commission, the ministry that has done a great job, other ministries that also have participated. And here, for example, we have the Ministry of Ecological Transition, with whom we collaborate very often. Also, thank you very much to everyone involved in the logistics, the interpreters, those who are helping, to everyone who's here. Thank you very much for making this possible. I think this event has given us the opportunity to talk, also grabbing a coffee, doing a little bit of networking, which helps to get to know each other better, to get to know Sigüenza. We were talking about how curious it is to come from far, far away to Sigüenza. And this is also part of the need that we all have to know the reality of each place, places. So we got to know the landscape, this beautiful parador, the Sigüenza castle. And comparing it to our own landscapes helps us understanding the realities of the people who live here. And this helps us to reflect and helps the proposals that we make to be better. So thank you very much. Thank you very much in the name of the Spanish government for participating in this event. And hopefully we'll see you soon in La Granja or in other events, so we can keep helping these people that are uniting us together, which is the people that live in the rural areas.
Thank you very much.